So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm going to talk today about hypnosis and self-hypnosis and how it can help you to overcome any speech impediments, to speak more fluently, to become more confident and successful in every area of your life, in fact. Lee says in his book that stuttering was a blessing in his life. And that, when I first read it, seemed like a very strange statement to me. But I believe what he meant was that if it wasn't for his stuttering and being absolutely determined to find a solution, he would never have learnt self-hypnosis and autosuggestion. And they really became tools which helped him in so many other areas of his life, throughout his life. Hypnosis transformed Lee's life, and it actually transformed mine as well. And I'll explain how. I had a senior position on the reinsurance side of a large US oil company back in the 1980s. And I had to give presentations to large groups of people and to board directors. And I just couldn't do it. I would shake, I would sweat. Basically, I'd have a panic attack whenever I had to give a talk. I remember once I was standing at the podium and I just totally dried up, just nothing came out of my mouth. It was a bit like that awful situation in the King's Speech, which many of you have probably seen. Then a friend of mine suggested hypnosis, and I had a few sessions. And my fear of speaking in public just diminished, really went down. Didn't go completely, but it certainly changed. But not just that. What I found that my confidence in other areas of my life just improved so much as well. And I could just achieve all my goals so much more easily with the use of hypnosis and with self-hypnosis. So after that experience of having the hypnosis, I did start doing self-hypnosis. I also read a lot of books like The Power of Positive Thinking, Cybernetics, Think and Grow Rich, and then more recently, The Power of Now, The New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and any book I could get my hands on. I also visualized exactly what I wanted to achieve. I did a lot of gratitude exercises. I acted as if I had already achieved my goals. And when I talk about visualization, people, I think, sometimes don't have the right idea of what that really means. We all visualize in different ways. Some of us see things quite clearly. Some of us, it's just a vague outline. Some of us hear things, feel things. Really, you want to encompass all of that. The more you can really be in that situation, really create that situation that you want to have, the clearer it becomes, the better it is. You have to use your imagination, basically. Use your imagination to visualize the outcome that you want. So it really did work for me. It led me to have a very successful business career and a fulfilling personal life. And then about 20 years ago, I decided to become a hypnotist myself and to help other people. It's just so rewarding to see people changing, achieving their goals. And although I've hypnotized thousands of people, I find I'm still really surprised when lifelong issues just vanish after a few sessions. It really is sometimes as though it is magic, but it isn't. Because really, it's you that's doing the work. I'm just there to help and guide you. Apparently, we have between 12 and 60,000 thoughts that go through our heads every day. Many of those thoughts are about the past, our abilities or our lack of abilities, and the future. Astoundingly, 80% of our thoughts tend to be negative. Also, we tend to repeat the same thoughts about 95% of the time, which means that we're reinforcing all that negativity in our own minds. All that self-talk, what we say to ourselves, really is very, very important because it does shape our lives. Let me give you an example of the importance of what we actually say to ourselves. I had a client a few years ago who had been given a gift certificate for a hypnotherapy session. So before the session, I said to her on the phone, please bring a certificate with you. So she arrived at the session, she was a bit upset, and she said, I kept saying to myself, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. And I forgot. So why was that? It was because she was repeating that to herself. She was reinforcing forget. It would have been so much better if she had said to herself, remember, remember. And that's what we need to do. We need to reinforce what we want and what we want in others. I always say to any client that comes to me that has children, never say, don't slam the door. All the child hears is slam the door. What you need to do is reinforce the positive aspect and say, shut the door quietly, or whatever it is you want to see in the other person or in yourself. And many of us actually tend to worry about things a lot. And what really is worry? We worry about the future, our abilities, but whenever we worry, we're actually visualizing what we don't want to happen. And why would we do that? We need to tell ourselves that we are safe, everything is okay, that we are capable, and we're just as good as anybody else. We can change our thoughts. And hypnosis and self-hypnosis can be a great, great help in that effort. People tend to have a misconception of hypnosis, probably because of movies that we've seen or stage hypnosis. It's really nothing like that at all. It's safe, it's comfortable, it's relaxing. In hypnosis, one is not asleep or unconscious. It's a bit like daydreaming, or that floaty feeling that one has between being awake and going to sleep. So what is actually happening during that process? Well, we all think that our conscious mind is so clever. It can analyze problems, it can make decisions, but our conscious mind only remembers about 7 bits of information at any one time. On the other hand, our subconscious remembers everything. So it's responsible for our short-term memory. The conscious mind is responsible for the short-term memory. The subconscious mind is responsible for the long-term memory because it remembers everything. So if something happens often and unconsciously, it goes from the conscious mind into the subconscious mind. And no matter how hard the conscious mind tries with willpower to stop that, the subconscious mind reminds it to act in that way, to feel that way, because that's where habit is. So in everyday life, your conscious and subconscious can communicate. But apparently, in hypnosis, it's 95% easier to talk directly to the subconscious mind. So that's really all that's happening. You're talking to that other part of you, that deeper part of you, the part of you that's actually responsible for your heartbeat, your breathing, anything automatic that's happening in your life. All that's happening is you're reprogramming that part, getting it to work with you rather than against you. And in my opinion, the greatest benefit of hypnosis and self-hypnosis is discovering how to work actively with this power, the power of the emotional, the imaginative levels of our mind, rather than having the subconscious be this mysterious part of ourselves that often works against our conscious goals. And I'd like to add that the subconscious isn't all bad. It doesn't actually know the difference between good and bad. It just does whatever it thinks it should do to keep you happy and to keep you safe. And a lot of the time it's doing an excellent job, but it's no longer what you consciously want anymore. I'm just going to quote from somebody else that wrote about it. This is William Hewitt. He wrote extensively about hypnosis and self-hypnosis. And he said, the subconscious mind is like an obedient servant. It just does what it is told to do. The subconscious mind doesn't think, reason, or rationalize. It only adheres to instructions. Conversely, the conscious mind does think, reason, and rationalize, and often argues against what you want. That is why the conscious mind needs to be relaxed and quieted so it won't counter what you are instructing your subconscious mind to do. What is also interesting is that the subconscious mind appears to not know the difference between reality and imagination. And that's why visualization is just so powerful while in a trance state. There's a story of a man who was a prisoner of war for 7 years. Every day, he mentally practiced playing golf perfectly on his golf course back home. And when he got back home, he was able to play a perfect round of golf because he had programmed that in his mind. He'd visualized it. He'd felt it. And there again, visualization, as I mentioned before, you really need to feel it, see it, actually be there, and make it as real as possible. I sometimes work with athletes, and this is great fun because they are very motivated to get better at whatever they're doing. I've helped runners and triathletes and tennis players, golfers, martial artists. So they all have this winner's mentality. And just like them, you are all motivated to improve your lives. And hypnosis and self-hypnosis really will help you to achieve your goals. Many issues, particularly fears and phobias, start because of something that happened to us before the age of about 9. For example, a fear of spiders because they seem scary, or a fear of public speaking because you pronounced something incorrectly and you were laughed at. And that's actually what happened to me at the age of 9. Then every time that we're back in that situation, we see a spider or we stand up to speak, that feeling, that behavior is triggered automatically by the subconscious. And once the underlying issue is addressed, however, through hypnosis, through self-hypnosis, then the affirmations and the auto-suggestions that we give ourselves work much, much better. That's to say that we need to neutralize or eliminate the limiting or the erroneous belief that we have from long, long ago. It's no longer necessary. We need to let it go. We need to change and move on. If you can see a hypnotherapist to help you with this, well, of course, that's great. But you can also learn to do self-hypnosis, which is really a very effective technique which you can do yourselves. It's a little like meditation, except that it's more goal-orientated, which is why many success-driven people are really drawn to do it. And there are many ways of doing self-hypnosis. One needs to give oneself beneficial suggestions every day in order to be successful. And maybe on another call, I can give you some more ideas about self-hypnosis, talk about it in more detail, and maybe we can do something together. So we can change. We really can. We can be anything that we wish to be. There are only 3 things we need for that. Firstly, the willingness to change. Secondly, the belief that we can change. Thirdly, we need to take action to make the change that we desire. In the words of Henry Ford, if you believe you can, or you believe you can't, you are right. Once we change our mindset, we are capable of achieving anything that we choose. And through hypnosis or self-hypnosis, one can deal with all types of issues. These include motivation, stress, anxiety, fears, self-esteem, improved learning, and speaking confidently. So before I finish, I wanted to give you just one tool which will help you to recognize that negative thinking, which I spoke of at the very beginning of the talk, and which will help you to change your thoughts so that you can have more positive ones. So some of you weren't here at the very beginning when everyone was coming together, but I asked people to find an elastic band if they had one. So if you can just find one easily somewhere around you, do so. If not, it doesn't matter, we'll do it a different way. But another time, do this. So put your rubber band around your wrist, and every time, any time at all, you have any negative thinking, limiting belief, worry, you're critical about yourself or about others, you're going to go ping, and it hurts. So if you haven't got an elastic band, you can just do that. It hurts as well. So the idea is to really recognize those thoughts. That's the first step, really, to recognize what is going on in your head when you have those unhelpful thoughts. So you go ping. So do that for a few days and you probably find you get a bruise. I think I did when I first did it. And then once you've done that, say to yourself, you're still going to think of the negative thought will come up, you go ping, and then you say stop or cancel if you prefer. Just stop, cancel, and immediately replace it with a positive thought, positive idea, or maybe something you're grateful for, that you're thankful for. And I think you'll be surprised at how effective you find this small tool to be. I came across a great quote by Wayne Dyer recently. He said, You can't always control what goes on outside, but you can always control what goes on inside, here and here. And in my opinion, hypnosis is the most effective, the easiest way to change yourself for the better from the inside. So I wish you all the best for positive change in your lives. Thank you.